Welcome everyone to part 2 of the Vesey Brother Story. I'm Nate Frazier. Welcome to Hearts to Heart. Always as I open up, I want to give a shout out to all of my viewers, all the people that support what I'm doing here in the community and here on social media. Once again, I have with me the mother of the Vesey brothers, Miss Gloria Jackson. It's a pleasure and it's an honor to have you. And I would like to say to everybody that this is my, I believe, 11th week. This is the biggest interview that I have done so far, what I'm doing in journalism. And I'm just honored and I just appreciate Miss Gloria Jackson giving me this opportunity to interview her on this very sensitive and serious matter. Welcome to Hearts to Heart with Nate Frazier.
Thank you, Mr. Frazier. I appreciate you having me.
Glad to have you. I want to open up because last week I never asked you to tell us a little bit about yourself and who you are as a person and as a mother.
Well, I come from Inkster, Michigan, okay, and I moved here back in 73 or 74.
Okay.
So all my children were actually raised here in Ypsilanti.
Okay.
I would say I'm a quiet person. I don't mingle too much with many people. Very little friends do I have. I just keep it simple. Just a simple, quiet person. Live a quiet life.
Okay. And how many children do you have?
5.
5. How many daughters and sons?
I have 3 daughters and 2 sons.
3 daughters and 2 sons. Also, too, I want to ask you just briefly, tell us a little bit about how this has affected you, especially the last 15 years.
It's been absolutely draining. It takes every fiber of your being to even deal with a case of a wrongful conviction. And that's for any wrongful conviction. Nobody knows the heartache, the struggle, financially, you losing everything you ever had, I had a 401k plan, every dime to fight. It never stops because everything in this system is about money.
Correct.
And even retaining lawyers, we had to have one appointed and one paid for because of my 2 sons, they couldn't share the same lawyer.
Exactly.
And so it's been a rough road. I won't tell you that it has been easy. It's days that I break down.
Yes.
I mean, just literally, because you couldn't even imagine that you have people who put wrongful conviction, you put people behind bars, no DNA, nothing. And then these people go do, the real people who murdered these people, they out on the streets, okay, to do another murder and to do whatever, and you lock the innocent people up.
Yes.
I just don't get it.
Yes.
And no matter how much evidence have came forth on this
Yes.
case, I mean, just evidence after evidence that have showed it couldn't have possibly been them. But once the system gets you, it does not want to admit the wrong.
Correct.
They do not want to right the wrong.
I agree. I definitely agree with you. And we're going to get back into this case. We really covered a lot last week, and just amazed of how much you got up here. And I'm pretty sure that's 15 years of your own investigation, of you
Yes.
looking at all the legal facts and the documents and going over them and over them and over them, time and time again. And how you have everything up here, because you was just on point every question that I asked you. So I definitely want to just get back into the case and just let the viewers know that out here that are watching that didn't understand, when this happened. But it goes back to April the 5th, 2003 at the Harris Park apartment complex in the city of Ypsilanti, Michigan. And we want to start by looking at the person who orchestrated this crime that we call a robbery gone bad. My question to you is, I have two. The first one is, did this person ever admit to orchestrating this vicious crime? And how much time did this person get?
Yes, she admitted to orchestrating it. She, in order for her to cover up for the real murderers, she had given them my son's names, and she ended up with 12. She took a plea deal.
Okay.
She received 12 to 30.
She received 12 to 30, and that was, I was going to ask you, were there a plea bargain involved as to why they didn't give her life in prison? So she took a plea deal. Now, what was the plea deal?
The plea deal was that if she give them the Vesey brothers, whom she didn't know, they wanted to close this case. She came up with a name, but she never could identify them. She never, in many statements during trial, she said, I never met them before. And so she would constantly go from not knowing them to not talking to them ever. They did take phone records, because she did say she had talked to Dennis on one previous occasion, which was, I don't know if you remember me saying, she said she had called him.
Yes.
And she had, he was supposed to come there and sell her some marijuana.
Okay.
And, but when they got both phone records, there was no such number ever found. They never found any records that where they had talked to the people, the victims, or where they had talked to the orchestrator or any of the witnesses. They had never, it was never a phone call made between any of these people.
How can you, I'm just having a problem, because how can you identify somebody that you never seen and that you don't know?
Well, first of all, my sister stayed next door to the victims.
Okay.
And Dennis and D'Amico would periodically go over there, maybe once a month, maybe twice a month, to just check and see how my sister was doing.
Okay.
And I'm quite sure at some point she saw him, even if she didn't know him. It could have been, just. But it went from that to, it was just unbelievable, and it was very, very hard and frustrating to fight a case of people you have never met or don't even know. You don't know anybody, and you running around trying to find out who are these people.
And that's what I have a problem with also, too, because I can't understand. This is a person that orchestrated the whole, for this event to take place. This is a person that failed lie detector's test.
Yes.
And as I said again, anytime that you fail a lie detector's test, your credibility is gone out the door. So, this is the person that orchestrated this, also failed the lie detector's test. Last week you told me, but this person became their star witness.
Oh, absolutely. She became their star witness, yes.
And they went on her testimony, not even knowing them. And then I remember you were talking about how they coerced her to, or tricked her, thinking that this one person was always Dennis. And then when she got in court, she said, no, you told me that person was Dennis.
Oh, yes, yes. The witness had said, I never said he was Juan. I told you that he favored him. Okay. You told me he was Juan. She was saying that she had never told the detective that.
Never told that. She said that in court at the trial here.
Oh, absolutely. When they asked her do you know a Juan? she said, not unless you talk. She gave him a name.
Okay.
That who Juan was.
And Juan is not even Juan.
Juan is not even Juan. No.
That's just a
fictitious name that they came up with. Yes.
And put that on
right.
Dennis.
Right.
Okay.
The people who Dennis and Miko weren't the only suspects. There were at least 10 suspects by reading the documents. There were 10 suspects, but ironically, Dennis and D'Amico were the only two. Well, I say D'Amico and Dennis and all the defendants on were DNA. They used the DNA that they had because, of course, Tequila Roberson had DNA up under her nails. When they tested the DNA, they tested all the DNA from the house to the defendants. It wasn't a match, but there was unidentified DNA male under her nails that didn't match them. So my thing was
didn't match anybody. Didn't match anybody.
Well, they didn't run it against the database. They only ran it against Dennis and D'Amico.
Okay.
And Michael McGuy High. They ran it against them.
Okay.
It was unfortunate though, because how do you have 10 suspects and only run it against those suspects? It was just and then it's still unidentified DNA up under her nails, so it matches somebody.
Right, definitely matches somebody. We don't know who, but we know it did match Dennis and D'Amico and the other person.
Yes.
Okay. So how many people did the witness name that were involved? Was it 4 or 5?
Well, she said it was 4. She said it was 4 guys and 1 female.
Okay, it was 4 guys and 1 female.
Yes.
So my question to you: why do you believe that your sons D'Amico and Dennis Vesey was targeted and framed as the perpetrators to commit such heinous crime?
Well, first of all, Dennis, back then, Dennis had some braids in his hair. They were really looking for a light-skinned guy who wore braids. So, but in the description that the witness gave, she said this guy always wore cornrows. If he didn't have cornrows in his hair, he always had his hair pulled back to the back with in a ponytail. And they said that he would go upstairs and visit some more friends up in the complex, and if they weren't home, he would come back and he would visit Taurus and Aquila. And they said, they gave his weight. They said he was tall, slender, wore big clothes, tried to make himself, the appearance to look big. But she said he weighed no more than between 140 and 150.
And Dennis at the time was, how much did Dennis weigh at that time?
220 pounds.
220 pounds. So that's definitely a big difference right there. Now, also, too, as we talked about last week, when they were supposed to be identified, they had a mask on. Now, it was 2 shooters supposedly in the house, correct?
Yes,
it was 2 shooters supposedly in the house. They said it was 2 shooters. Okay, but they had a mask on.
Yes.
Okay, now did one of them have braids in their hair? Did anybody describe?
The witness said that they had braids that when they had the cap on, it was braids hanging from the cap.
Did Dennis have any braids on that day? Did he have any braids in his hair?
Yes, I don't know about hanging from the cap with that short hair he had. But
okay,
yeah.
He did have braids.
Yeah, Dennis did have braids, yes.
Okay, he did have braids. Okay, and D'Amico just wore his hair regular.
Well, D'Amico would get his hair braided too at times, yeah.
And how tall was the 2 people? What was their height? Because Dennis is what? 6'2"?
Yeah, he's about 6'2".
And how tall is D'Amico?
I'll say Miko roughly probably about 5'8".
Okay, 5'8". So the witness described the height of the two gentlemen that were in the house. She said one was tall.
She just said the one was tall and one was shorter.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he looked like he weighed about, the tall one looked like he weighed about what?
Well, this is the witnesses that's looking on what's happening outside. So
okay. Got you.
Yeah, they were the ones who said that. But these are witnesses that were seeing this Juan guy, so he called his name. That's the name he threw out there. We want to say that, I mean, she said that she would see him 3 times a week. She said he always came out there at least 3 times a week. So I was, wondering what had, I can see her, she actually picked, 2 witnesses actually picked the people who were out there. They gave the roles they played. They gave the clothing they wore.
Okay.
And when Dennis and D'Amico were shown their photo, they had told the detective over and over again they had never seen those boys. She did admit that Dennis looked as sort of like the guy.
Okay.
But she did not. She said, "But I can't tell you that it's him."
Okay.
Yeah.
So she couldn't 100% identify that was him.
Right.
Sorry for our mishap right there, but we're back. We're back. I also want to read this to you and then answer this. The prosecutor stated in court that this is how they act and this is how they live. What do you think the prosecutor meant by that statement? And the next question is, how was D'Amico and Dennis Vesey living at that time? And you as their mother, you knew their lifestyle. So how
Right.
for the prosecutor to even say that, I mean, it does sound racist. This is how they act and this is how they live in their neighborhood. So what do you think she was insinuating?
Well, I at first it had came up in trial where she said something about them being dope dealers. Miko and Dennis both had never had any charges of drugs ever. They had never been to prison or jail for any charges of drugs. And for her to say that with no factual evidence of it, yeah. I mean, it was like they were just, they needed them. They needed to make this charge work. The detective never questioned. He did it's many a lot of paperwork that we didn't get because of the other suspects he had. We did receive some, but out of the suspects' paperwork, it was people from this town that we never knew that was saying actually it was D'Amico and Dennis, and those people we never knew. So we like, why is this such a big cover-up? We don't even know these people. But did I feel when I first seen it in the paper just alone before they even charged my children, I'm like, this is such a heinous crime. It was horrible. You go in there and you take a mother and a father from their children, and not even that, you take their infant son.
Yes.
It was horrible.
Horrible.
And I kept saying to myself, Lord, whoever done this has no heart for children. I do know that.
Yes.
They couldn't have. I don't know how anybody with a heart for children could go inside of a house with children there and do such a heinous crime. So yes, I've been out here 15 years, and I'm telling you, I have read every piece of paperwork. For 15 years,
right.
I've been looking into everything.
Okay. And even before they were convicted, the word was through the gossip, the hearsay, everybody was saying, yeah, Dennis and D'Amico did that. Dennis and D'Amico did that. So that name, their names were already put out there as already guilty. And do you think even that had a lot to do with it? Because them two names were just really, really ringing at that time when that was going on.
Well, no, D'Amico's name was never ever mentioned.
Okay.
Ever.
So
but Dennis wasn't put out there to the day that the detective came to question him about it, because his name was throughout, apparently, because he was light skinned, he had braids, he was visiting his aunt next door at some time one another day. I don't know what day it was, but he used to go there periodically, like I just told you. But here's the thing. When they went to Dennis' house and questioned him, they said they had no problem. He come downstairs. But when they wanted to search the house, they allowed them to search. They found a gun that's unrelated to this crime. So Dennis went right away. They arrested him. They said that they had heard that it was his Yukon. The orchestrator told him she was in his car, and that's the car that the murderers got into. They got into Dennis's truck. And so once Dennis went away for the gun charge, it spread it like wildflowers in Ypsilanti.
How did they get Dennis' truck?
Well, they seized it once they took him to prison for that unrelated charge with the gun charge.
But they saying, so in the beginning, let's go back. They're saying that Dennis' truck was at the scene of the crime.
Yes.
Was it there at that time?
No.
It was not even there at the time.
No. Well, when the forensics was talking about how Miss Robeson, Tequila, was shot at a very close range.
Okay.
There was no way you could have gotten out of there without DNA on you. It's no way.
No way.
So they seized his truck.
Okay.
And when they seized his truck, of course, they used luminol. They went through it. They took all the seats out of there. They did the whole 9 yards to find out the car had never been cleaned, and there was not a drop of evidence in his truck at all. There was nothing.
That was clear.
That was clear.
His truck wasn't even there.
Yeah, they said and when the report came back, it said this truck couldn't have possibly ever been used in a crime.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, I want to get more into talking more about these witnesses, because as I said last week, and we discovered, we read the documents and everything, so much inconsistent testimony, so many lies. Anybody that got common sense asks themselves, how can you convict anybody? How can you even come up with, charging somebody and you have no physical evidence? Even in the beginning of the document, it states in the report that there is none whatsoever physical evidence to link any one individual to this crime. But still, go ahead.
But I do want to say this. The people that the witnesses picked in the very beginning, there were 4 guys that the witnesses saw and picked. But if you look at when the detective talked to them, the ones that they said did this crime, in the paperwork, they're telling the detective that it was Dennis and his brother. Okay. I'm like, wow.
The people that was originally name came up.
Oh, yes.
These 4 people name originally came up as being part of this crime. When they were questioned, them 4 gave over Dennis and D'Amico.
Yes.
Why would they do that?
To get it off themselves. Because you can't see a crime.
But my question to you is, and I'm just asking you this, I'm trying to figure out, why would they just go and come up with just Dennis and D'Amico? Why would they pick them two?
Well, first of all, they knew, they had heard, it had spread it. You know, nothing is a secret in this town.
That's what I'm asking.
And when they first originally went to Dennis and they arrested him, no one knew that it was for an unrelated gun charge.
Okay.
So this town got to spreading. They had arrested Dennis for that murder like a wildflower.
Okay.
It had went everywhere till he had became the murderer.
The murder. Okay. That's what I want you to do.
Yes.
I want you to explain that. So I asked you that question.
Yes.
Okay, I understand.
So that's how his name got to rolling out there. And the people who were identified for being out there, I had the opportunity to read their statements, and they were telling the detectives that it was Dennis and D'Amico. So, you know.
Okay, they put it off on them.
So once they put it off on them, and you got the orchestrator putting it off on them, all of them got their story together. Now it's just become Dennis. They targeted them, and they never looked back at the original people, nor the description she gave them. She gave them the roles they played, how they ran around the house, everything. And they were never investigated.
Never investigated.
Never.
And then on the charge, on the gun charge with Dennis, I'm pretty sure they, you know, try to see was that linked.
Oh,
to
they
the
ran
crime.
it, and it wasn't no, it wasn't linked to any crime or anything.
Okay.
Yes.
Next question. There was a lot of coercing throughout this crime. There were people being interrogated, failed polygraph tests, lies being told, etc. But never any evidence presented that put D'Amico and Dennis Vesey as the scene of the crime, or any evidence that they were involved at all for them to be convicted to life in prison. Tell us more about this.
Yes, they no witness have ever called their names. That was ironic to me. No witness have ever said Dennis, and no witness have ever said D'Amico. And I'm like, no witness. Dennis and D'Amico's name never came up into a year and a half, upon, like I say, 20 days before Dennis got released. Yes, 18 months later. This is when all of a sudden Juan got changed to Dennis. I'm like, Dennis never been called Juan, Swan, nothing.
And let the people know that that's out there watching. The name Juan, that's not even a name. That's just something that they threw out there. And that name, which is, I know there's people named Juan, but this wasn't even a Juan. This is was another person and turned into being Dennis.
Right.
Through the coercing of the detective, you know, because one thing about it, they will trip you up. They will get you to say things, and then you go back in court, and then you say, hey, I did not say that. You told me that, like, you know, the person that orchestrated the whole thing, she was saying, no, I didn't tell you that. You told me that person was Dennis. I didn't say that was him. I thought that such and such was Dennis. So that happened a lot too. And I want to ask you that I just don't understand how they could be convicted with unreliable witnesses. Now, the four people that was name brought up as being a part of the crime that gave Dennis and D'Amico name up, did they take polygraph tests?
No, they refused. They refused to take polygraphs.
They refused.
In fact, one of them lawyered up real quick, and he refused to take a polygraph. But these are the same people that refused to take a polygraph are the people who said Dennis and D'Amico did it. In their statements, they said, well, I think they was brothers, and I think that it's some brothers I heard did it. But you're talking to the people. You're going to talk to the people who the witnesses picked out. So now, I'm like, what is going on here, really? What is going on? Because you never test DNA to these people who they picked out. They literally They literally gave the names and they told them exactly what happened. They just didn't listen. They didn't listen. They were so targeted on Dennis and D'Amico. And to me, you take criminals off the street that's been in prison all their life back and forth, and you take a statement from them saying it's my sons.
Gotcha.
How dare you? What kind of investigation is that?
Correct. Correct.
And then, no, we're talking about, you couldn't tie them to knowing the people. You couldn't tie them to no DNA. You got his truck, my God, that they say they were in, and you take out the seat, you do luminol, it comes back, it couldn't have popped. What more do you need? But I felt like they did a sloppy job at, first of all, there was no investigation. They talked to a couple of street thugs, and they got jumped by them.
Okay.
They led them to, now these were the people that were supposedly
Were named.
were with, and they were with the orchestrator. And I mean, that right there alone sent my sons to prison because no evidence ever sent them there.
Gotcha.
And we talking about people who wouldn't take a polygraph and the orchestrator who felt 3 polygraphs. Help me understand that, because I don't understand that.
Right.
But I do know all over this world, all over America, I mean, people are taken in all the time by wrongful convictions.
Yes.
And then they tell you, be careful not to talk to this person or that person because you might hurt the case. Hurt the case? My kid's been in there for 15 years. Hurt the case? Are you serious? And I'm so sick of people saying, well, you don't want to name, but they named my children. And you took some street thugs, some people that these people told you in the very beginning had did this crime, and you let them tell you that it was my children. And you call that an investigation? Washtenaw County, shame on you. You did nothing. Anytime you can take a statement for some street thugs who've been in and out of prison all their life to give you some information and you just roll with it with nothing. If you're doing that kind of investigation, I wouldn't even put them on the cookie case. It's just been that terrible.
Yes.
That case was, it was just terrible.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And I can imagine. My sons never experienced that, but as a parent, I can imagine how you feel, the frustration, the hurt, the pain. I see it in you, and the outrage that it is very frustrating for you. And you as a mother, you're doing what any mother would do. You're out here fighting for your child's innocence. Anybody can say, oh, she's tripping, she shouldn't say this, she shouldn't do this, and we this, we that. But if you're not in her shoes and your children are not going through what they're going through and she's going through as a mother, all I say is be quiet. Exactly. Just shut up, because you're not in her shoes. I'm not in her shoes. I can only feel her pain and imagine what she's going through, because if it was one of my 4 sons, and I know that they're innocent 100%, I know now if they did it, then you got to pay. I'ma still love you, but you got to pay. But when I know you're innocent, I'm going to fight until my last breath. So I feel you, and I understand you on that.
Now look at the viewers. And I heard statements when people used to say, well, people say that their kids are innocent. But I challenge the viewers and you on this one. I don't know a mother or dad for 15 long years would fight for any child that had committed a crime. I've been fighting this. I've lost everything I can ever own. I sold my car, everything in my house. I went with nothing to give her my whole 401k plan. And you think I'm a mother who would ever hide anything from her children, to cover up for her children? It was a child, a baby, murdered, mother and father. If it had been my sons, I would have turned them in, and I could care less who believed that. Because see, at the end of the day, I have a God to answer to. I don't have to answer to nobody but God. That's who my judge is. And I don't even know how these mothers and fathers and kinfolks and friends could even cover up for people like that. I'll never understand that. And it has nothing to do with it just being my children. This happens every day. We see people do it. And we mostly, and when the community come in, they want to, oh, well, we're not just going to say nothing. We really don't have anything to do with it. But let me tell you something. Your child affects everybody that has a child. Affects everybody, whether it's good or bad. They have an effect on people.
That's right. That's right.
And I just needed them to know that.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Woo. Next question. Need some water here. Next question. Let's talk about the third person. Let's talk about the third person.
All right.
And I want you to express your true feelings. You've been putting it out there. You've just been telling it. Thank you. You've been telling it like it is. How much of an effect do you think the third person's testimony affected the Vesey brothers? And I'm asking you this question because the third person was originally charged with this triple homicide. And I want you to explain to me, how can a person that was originally charged with the murder first, picked up first, it goes from that person to Dennis and D'Amico being convicted? Tell me, just tell the audience about that.
Well, I don't really have the whole scenario of that, because I do know it was a court date set for that defendant, and it was a closed session where our lawyers weren't allowed in there. We weren't allowed in there, only them. So I never could elaborate on what happened in that They closed the doors to anybody except the defendant, his mother, and the judge and the prosecutor. So to this day, I don't know what happened behind those closed doors. They forbid us to come in.
How? How can the justice system allow a private court hearing take place? Your son's been charged with the murder. This person originally charged first. This person gets a private hearing that your counsel, nobody.
No, we weren't allowed to.
You have no information?
No.
You don't know what was said?
No.
Talk to me. Are you serious?
Not at
You
all.
know nothing what was said. All you know that there was a private hearing for this third person. After this private hearing, that your counsel, did the counsel appeal to be able to get to this hearing?
No. They were already told by the judge that they couldn't come. The judge makes all the decisions. You can't. And here's the thing.
Who was the judge?
Melinda Morris.
Melinda Morris. Okay.
Now,
right.
it was hard, because when you're out here fighting, you're trying to wonder what's going on. So you go and you ask. Oh, I asked, but I was never given anything. I don't have any paperwork on that. All the paperwork that I could attain, I have attained. It's just sad, because when it comes to this justice system, I've learned they will do anything and everything, but never nothing to help you. I've been to Washtenaw County and literally pleaded for help. went back to the original detective Robert Everett, that Everett Robbins, I'm sorry, to ask him, you know, can you help? You were the main one that told me you knew exactly that my sons hadn't did it. You knew for a fact that they hadn't done it. But here they sit in prison for 15 years for some people they never met. I need somebody, but once I learn how the system works, get whoever. Get me a body. I don't care who it is. Find me some jailhouse snitches and some jailbirds out here that's criminals, career criminals, and just get a statement from them, because they'll say anything. And then we got it.
Because I'm just going to tell it like it is. Reading the statement, listening to the testimony of the third person, the original person that was charged with this triple homicide, the detective stated, nobody cares about a drug dealer taking a lick anyway. But these were the detective's words. But if you murdered a mother and her baby, then I don't want to talk to you. And the third person said, well, I'm not a murderer. You know, that's not who I am. Also, the detective that was interviewing him kept on wanting him to say over and over, it was Dennis and D'Amico. It was Dennis and D'Amico. Now, from that, he never said it was them. From listening to that and to the rest, he never said that.
Right.
But one thing about it is that me, a lot of other people, our real concern is this: the private hearing. What happened? You don't know. No. We don't know. The community, the people don't know. Right. But we do know this: he's been free for 15 years.
Yeah.
That person's been free for 15 years. That we do know.
Yes.
So, in that hearing, we all can come up with, you know, probably this was said, probably that was said. This is why this person is free. This is why your sons are charged. Honestly, we don't know. No, but it's the suspicious thing about it is that not just me, not just anybody that's following this case, everybody have a problem if you know the law and understand how the system's supposed to work.
Right. Absolutely.
Wouldn't agree to this person having a private hearing that the opposition counsel couldn't even come to. And then they're sealed files. They're sealed files. Then you were told that that person could never talk about the case no more.
Right.
Couldn't say nothing to you no more.
Right.
That's a problem. That's something that anybody that has followed this case is questioning the character of this person. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to put down. And I'm not here to ridicule. But I'm going on facts. I'm going on facts here. It questions the character of the third person to have a private hearing. And not just his character, but the character of Washington County justice system. To pull one individual to the side in private.
Right.
But was your sons offered a private hearing?
No. No.
Not at all. So that's a problem right there, because these documents are sealed. Guess what? You will never know what was said. Right. You will never know what was said. Or you can come up with your own conclusion. After that, though, let's be honest. did it make you really question the character, question the person, everything about this person?
Well, I thought that they would explain to me. You know, you can't find out anything if you don't look into it. If you don't research what's going on. So when you don't know, you don't know. And then when you go up against it, people think you ridiculing them. They think you coming after them when you're trying to find out what in the world went on. What happened here? You know, and when I do this fight, I do this fight for all wrongful convictions because I know people personally, and I know a family who have their sons in there on the wrongful conviction. So it's nice to know people who are going through the same thing you're going through, because you'll never understand. I was torn up over that murder that happened, not because it was my sons, because it was some people who didn't deserve to die. I don't care what was happening in their home. I don't care what happened with Taurus Hill. What Tequila Robeson. They did not deserve to die. You know, you don't go in anybody's home and you go in home invasion, robbery, whatever they want to call it. But that was heinous. That was a ruthless person.
Yes, it was.
With no kind of feelings for a human life to do that. And I can say this. I won't say my children are perfect, but they far from going up in there, murdering someone, and with the children there. And I'm too much of a mother to hold them up on it.
Gotcha. I definitely understand. In reading document records from the Washtenaw County Police and Detective Division, there were other individuals involved who was in on the robbery turned bad that resulted in a triple homicide, along with the original person that orchestrated and initiated this heinous crime that should have been locked up, tried and found guilty long before and more so than Dennis and D'Amico Vesey, due to the fact that the others were caught in numerous lies as well as named by witnesses. This right here is one of the most jacked up convictions. I've watched convictions all over TV. I watch Unsolved Mystery. I mean, I watch all kind of crime things and stuff, and you know, me getting ready to go to school for journalism and all this stuff right here. But let me tell you something. This right here, this is jacked up. This is messed up. I think, and I've been on this earth over a whole century. And I think I would say this is the most messed up, injustice, horrible conviction of two innocent people that did not get a fair trial, period. Because one thing I know about Washtenaw County system, when you go in guilty, I don't care how much evidence you got. I don't care what you prove. Guess what? If they want you, they want you. And I'm with Glow on this. Shame on you, Washtenaw County. Because you just zeroed in on two innocent young men and just took them from here. And they're serving time unjustly. But that's just how the system works. And I would say it is set up that way. And that's why a lot of us out here, and we're out here, we're doing our thing. We in the streets and we doing this and that. But let me tell you, like the detective said, you know, you can be out here rolling. You can be out here balling. You can do what you want to do. But like the detective said, nobody cares about a drug dealer taking a lick. Nobody. That furthermore lets me know the only reason why this case went the way that it did, far as it did, is because an innocent child was involved. And I'm going to keep it real. If it wasn't for that innocent child, this wouldn't have went that way, because they don't give a hoot about a drug dealer. They don't give a hoot about you're robbing each other. They don't give a hoop about your shooting your brother. They don't care. The detective said in the report, no, it's drug money. Who cares about if a drug dealer takes a lick? But guess what? If they had not done something with the innocent baby being involved, yes, the system, it already looks bad. It's already set up and to really target us, especially us black men. It is what it is. It's a fact. It's the truth. But what I'm saying is this. Until we realize what we're doing, it's innocent people that can take a fall for something just because of some hearsay, just because somebody throw your name out there. And this is what happened to the Vesey brothers. And I'm going on, I'm on Glow's side, I'm on anybody's side. I'm on the right side. That's the only side I'm on, the right side. And I'm going to say it again because I don't want nobody to get all in their feelings. I don't want nobody to be talking about, oh, he said this and that. I'm going to tell you like this. I'm going on documents. I'm going on what I read. I'm going on what I researched. It's unjust. It's not right. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's just wrong. And I will say this. In life, whether it's me or anybody in here or anybody out there reaching, let me tell you something. In life, you reap what you sow. I don't care if you're heartless. I don't care if you ain't got no emotions. I don't care if you ain't got no feelings. Trust me, in life, it's the universal principle. What you sow, that's what you gonna reap. Amen. What comes, what you put out, I don't care. It's coming back to you, and it's going to come back to you 10 times worse. And you think it's a joke, you think it's funny, you think you've gotten free, but one day we all got to stand before our Maker. It is what it is. It is what it is. That's my perspective of this entire case. And I will say, based on facts, Dennis and Domingo Vesey is innocent. I can say it because I have facts before me, not hearsay. They're innocent. What would you like to say? Anything else before we close out that you would like to say?
First of all, I wanted to let the Robeson and Hill family tell you this has been a rough road, and I know it has definitely been even rough for you guys too. My sons and I, we pray all the time about the case. We pray that that you've been. I know you'll never forget this heinous crime, but that God make a way for you to be able to live with it in peace. I say that to you, but know this, viewers out there, that I'm a mother that I'm not gonna ever stop until the day I see my sons walk out of that prison. And I only just begun. Thank you.
In closing, I believe and I'm sure there are many others as well who has followed this case over the years, that the justice system and the Washtenaw County Sheriff and Detective Division failed the Vesey brothers, and the community in not giving them a fair trial to prove their innocence, and by allowing them to be free. I think the system, as far as I'm concerned, the Washtenaw County system, I think they need to have a internal investigation on the Washtenaw County system. I really do. The feds need to come in and do an internal investigation on Washtenaw County. I said it. They're due. They do. They do. It's sad. My heart goes out for you. I'm praying for you. You hang in there.
Oh, I will.
And once again, I cannot thank you enough for giving me this opportunity. You could have took this to any platform I'm just Facebook Live. I'm starting off Facebook Live.
Yeah.
You could have took this to any higher platform, but you chose to sit down and was comfortable enough with me and trusted me enough and my character to give me this opportunity to do something on this level. I learned so much from this case. I learned so much from interviewing you. This is something that I can take back to my school and, let them look at it, let them critique it, let them go over it, and what I can even do better. Thank you so much, Glow.
Oh,
I appreciate this.
I appreciate you for allowing
And
me.
anything else that we can do to help you, hearts to hearts. When they come home, I'm looking forward to bring them on here, so they can give their testimony, because I'm going to let y'all know out there that they coming home. They are coming home sooner than you think. God bless you all. Thank you all for tuning in. I want to thank all my sponsors. I definitely want to thank SD Photographic and Studio. I want to thank Urban 360. I want to thank my brother, Pure Right Cuts. I want to thank Pinnacle, as always, Entertainment. And I want to thank my producer that's here every week, setting it up for me like clockwork. My brother, Keon Pure. I thank God for this young man right here. This is one of the most loyal brothers that I know out here. Ain't too many. Everybody got friends, but everybody don't have loyalty. And I thank God for you, man. Much love for you. Thanks for the loyalty. And we're going to be back next week, and then after that, we're going to take a break. I'm going to take a 3-week break. We're going to get shows back together. We're going to get things back together. So I will be back next week, and we're going to have something special for you next week. And once again, I just want to thank everybody for your support, for my wife typing up the, she said, you don't need to be reading off this and that. She typed it up for me, so I thank God for my wife and everything. I just thank God. God is... a lot of people, I don't really call this a show. I call this ministry. And I want people to understand that this is a ministry, because she's able to get on this platform and express herself in so many ways. As I said, we're about social. We're about politics. We're about spirituality. We're about what's real here in life. God bless you all. Thank you all for your support. See you next Saturday at 12 noon.